Grave Reviews, this is Chris.
Have you trapped the children?
There's no children here. It's not safe for them.
This is Alan, and Chris is right. Grave Reviews is intended for mature audiences. Your discretion is advised. Grave Reviews presents Thursday Night Frights.
Ladies and gentle peoples, thank you for being with us tonight as we discuss this very fun movie starring the one and only Nicolas Cage. We are caging it up this month. How are you today, Mr. Chris?
Doing well, doing well. I mean, we're talking about a national treasure.
Who starred in
So,
A National Treasure? How did that happen?
coincidence? I think not.
I think that someone somewhere planned this mess. Anyway, you know what, LG, I agree. Chris's camera does look fantastic tonight. He looks handsome.
You can see me. I have light. Reworked a bit of the back end of the studio, and now you can see me.
How does the sound? Are we both fairly equal here? It sounds on my end like everything's coming through perfect. Chat room, please let us know so if we can make any adjustments if we have to. To kick off the month of Cage, as are caged. Anyway,
Marching in a cage.
Marching in the cage. Arcadian. The word literally means that it's like a desirous country, individual, or place. And we are definitely, I thought it was more of like for Arcadian rhythm, right? Where which very well maybe that's exactly what it is. But it all kind of applies to this because this movie for the most part does take place in a very picturesque country setting. The neighbor's home is quite beautiful. It's very Arcadian, right? Yeah, a pretty good title to this one. Not a lot of people talking to them. Not a lot of people have seen it, which kind of shocks me because it was a 2024 film, and it is the national treasure that is Nicolas Cage. So,
well, I think one of the reasons being is we had Civil War came out, the other dystopian-esque, futuristic type of movie that visually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
This one, it was really dark. A lot of the movie is extremely dark.
Yes, if you're not watching this on a television or a widescreen TV,
I have 55 inches in front of me here. Like, it helps. Because, man, it's dark.
My third watch was on my phone, and I was like, "What?
It's almost impossible."
Yeah, but they use that darkness in order to capture shadow, and then when it lights up to give you those quick glimpses. I love the fact, and we'll start at the beginning here in just a minute, but I love the fact that they didn't reveal the monsters right away because this is a creature feature, and I love the fact that they didn't throw them right out up front. They revealed them a little bit at a time through the movie, and then when you finally saw them, you were like, "What the?"
Yeah, it was a great move easing us in. The eyes in the dark. There's a scene with the appendage coming out and like extending. Oh, that was cool. That was creepy. And then it builds, and all of a sudden this thing gets out and it crawls away, and then it snarls, and you're like, "What the hell did I just see?"
There was a lot of that in this where you're like
what the?
Or in the sound design where 1 second you're hearing the creatures doing that. It's almost like that orangutan.
It's a weird talkie,
right? And then that guttural growl, and you're like, "Wow, they did with a budget that's next to nothing."
Very low.
Fantastic job with the special effects. Was it great? No, not by any means.
No, no. I think maybe doing less of the creature would have been better.
Well,
Um,
again, they kept them in the dark. They kept them
yeah.
away from bright lights.
Most of the movie, you don't really see what this even when they capture it,
Yeah,
like, and it escapes on you, you left wondering, like, "What did I just witness?" Like, there was a
exactly.
lot going on there, the way it moves, the way it kinda hides in
I do.
shadow. There
Which
was, a
which was
l there was some interesting parts in there.
well, the whole light and shadow part that we were talking about that plays into the fact that they didn't have the money to spend on a bunch of CGI,
Right.
uh, and so by keeping it somewhat in the dark, it lent to the creature effects, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
well, let's go back to the beginning. This movie, the way it starts, again, it's a fairly low budget movie, which a lot of Nick Cage's movies are. God bless him for it. Um,
He's just what? He's in, like, 900 movies?
I mean,
His IMDb's gotta be up there.
I think he was in at least 4 last year.
He is a performer. He does not and he has the tools to do this. So yeah, we start off he's escaping some sort of war that's
Yeah,
happening. We
yep.
see missiles, we hear screaming, we hear yelling, and
And
he's
again,
running.
the sound design in this section. He's
Interesting.
Yeah, he's running and you're hearing in the background, you're hearing the warning sirens going off.
Right.
Right?
Something's going on.
Yep, and
And,
then
and
here's something I just wanted to bring up on the sound design
yeah.
because he's running, you're hearing the footsteps, you're hearing the siren going off, and all of a sudden you're hearing this really sharp, uh, fly buzzing
Mm,
above everything, and you're like, "What in the world is,"
yeah.
and you're hearing these concussions going off that are way off in the distance. I thought the sound design in this first scene was done so well that it really pulled you into what
Yes.
you're asking yourself immediately, "What am I watching? What is
Yeah.
it being for?"
I'm with the one thing that it does also foreshadow is some shaky camera stuff. We follow Nick Cage, which is really cool. You know, we're jogging along with him. Like that cameraman and Nick Cage, like not only is he a great performer and actor, like it was a good long jog scene that he is taking off to save his twin sons. Like
It's
or
long. It's fairly There's some fairly long shots, so you can tell that he was actually doing
Oh
some
yeah, he was jogging along. Like this was some cardio for Nick Cage in this movie, but it does set up for a lot of shaky camera. You get that forced perspective, that forced POV to
Mhm.
where you're there. The concussions affect you. I see what you did there, but it does affect some people. It That kind of stuff makes you sick. This movie might have a tendency to go
I
that route.
I'm not a big fan of the shaky camera thing, and what I appreciated was the shaky camera. It wasn't overtly everywhere. It was like
It
real,
did, yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, there's some that are way worse.
and it was only when there was point of view action.
Yeah.
Once as soon as he stopped to pick up the babies, the camera became
Oh
small.
yeah, you get a wider shot. There's some,
Right.
yeah, definitely. It's not through the whole thing, but there are some heavy moments of, especially the whole end of the movie.
Yes.
Um,
Uh,
but
and and then we jump forward 15 years later to
yeah,
what is really nothing more than an apocalyptic. I'm going to use the word plague. Okay.
plague. Yeah,
We're gonna use the word
yeah.
plague for
We never really truly find out exactly what happened. We get a snippet where one of the boys that is now grown up is hanging out with the neighbor who's like on a compound, a very nice place.
beautiful place.
Um,
Beautiful.
and we have to be in by dark, and something definitely tried getting into their house at dark. You don't know what it is, but he's back and forth over there, and it's basically bugs came. There was a plague. Humans knocked way down. Only a bunch of us are alive.
Yeah, and I loved the fact that the two boys who are twins, right? One of them looks at Nick at one point because I just love this line because he says, "Why you let him do whatever he wants?" And Nicolas Cage's response is, "Well, you can't stop grass from growing."
Right.
And the boy's
Yeah.
response was, "Oh, but you can."
But you can.
Yeah, but
But
and
you can.
I was like, that's a
Yeah.
real father son conversation that just took
Yeah.
place. there. That's the
Right,
reason.
because it's these two boys are the same, like they're fraternal twins, is what we're kind of put guessing at, and one of them is outgoing, has made friends with the neighbor. This neighbor has a girl about his age. He's coming of age. They're courting each other somewhat,
Yeah,
and the
it's
other boy is just really afraid.
yeah. I agree. I agree. The discount uh,
Discount Harry Potter, dollar store Harry Potter.
uh the dollar store Harry Potter. Uh, who was great in the movie It. He was
Yeah, Jaden Martell, nothing against him. It was just there's several parts where you're like, I learned this while living under the stairs.
yeah, oh my god, that's exactly right. Yeah,
you
so,
know, I found this Jeep out back, and while I was underneath the stairs, I read this book on how to put it back together.
it's so funny because the only thing that Chris and I either one said about this movie beforehand was, "So did you like Discount Harry Potter?" Just thought the exact same thing, and of course we were cracking up laughing at that point. Uh, yeah, you've got the trope. One of the brothers is extremely intelligent, possibly a genius, right? He's the
Mhm.
one that wants to work with his hands and create things to make life easier for them,
Right.
while the other brother is wanting to go sow his oats and meet the
Yeah.
people and have fun and all that stuff. So, um, and 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 this is funny, like we said, right? It started out in the war scene. The two infant children. 15 years later, it starts with you're late. That they're
Yeah.
building the pressure. The house is under attack. That you quickly find out that one of them's taking notes. He's paying attention to what's
Yeah,
going on.
I love that part. That part was great where the the dog starts scratching at the floor. So the dog is an indicator of whatever's going on outside. They run down the stairs. The the outgoing brother and Nick Cage run down the stairs to go check out what's going on to where something is trying to get in the garage, and it's banging on the door, and then it's banging on the door, and then it bangs on the door and it leaves.
Yep.
And the one brother goes, I love that interaction where he's like,
Well, you
did you
did.
run down the stairs? Did you try to block it? He's like, no, but did you count how many times he did it? Well, the first time was 10 seconds. The second time was 20 seconds. The third time. The first time was just a test. The second time was the real gain of entry try. The third time was frustration. And it was like,
Yeah,
oh,
and Dad went. I
not bad. All right. Let's,
so yeah, so then at this point in the movie, I hate to say it this way because I don't want anyone to think that I'm disparaging anything. The brakes really get put on, right?
yeah.
It's action, it's drawn you in, but I think they did it right because let's face it, for a non Hollywood budget film, for more of a
Mhm.
lower budget film, they really took the time to develop the characters because and the reason I said it didn't hurt it that the brakes got put on is because these boys, and of course Nick Cage, they acted the hell out of this movie.
Yeah. You really believe something's going on
Yep,
to the point of, because they're young boys. They're going to be dumb. They're going to do stupid things. And like, the trauma of all of this stuff happening
yep.
and being the kid that found somebody he really likes and his world is upside down, you kind of believe almost the choice that he's making, even
And
though it's the wrong choice.
and Nick Cage taking the time to teach them how to drive.
Right.
Which was a really it was a heartwarming scene because I remember myself learning to drive. I remember teaching both of my boys how to drive, and
Hmm.
it's exactly like that. Easy, take your foot off the brake, blah 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 blah. And I'm
Right.
saying when this it really showed the family aspect of this movie. And I'm going to say this right now. So it'll be the only time I say it. I hope. Hopefully, I say it. This is going to be show the real family of this. It could have been a Quiet Place sequel movie because it's the exact same premise. With Nick,
Yep.
uh, someone asked me about this movie and how I liked it. I said, "Well, did you see a Quiet Place?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Imagine Nick Cage in a Quiet Place, and you've got this movie."
And when we get to the point of where the one boy's running back and slips and falls into the slit in the ground that
Right.
however why ever is there, um we really kind of like, I realized like kind of underused Nick Cage. He is his acting's in his hands and his cadence, the way he talks.
Uh-huh.
Like Nick Cage is a package deal, man. Like, and I really think this movie underused him a bit.
I'm going to disagree with you a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
because the movie that we're watching next week, Mr. Cage doesn't say a word through the whole movie.
that's true.
Bill is great in that movie. We'll talk
Yeah,
about it at the end, but I understand where you're coming from. I love the fact that Nick dialed it back in this movie and showed a different side of his.
yeah. It's very not. you- When people complain about Nick Cage movies, it's like it's a Nick Cage movie. You're gonna get Nick Cage. Like you can't complain about too much Nick Cage. It's a Nick Cage movie. This
Exactly.
is way dialed back. You're getting more of that stern father
Yep. Yep.
kind of vibe from him, and
And even
he's at the point of letting his kids try to figure it out on their own.
yeah, which is why he says you can't stop a grass from growing.
Right.
I love that line. I will say that when Nick has to become the um, action portion of the movie, it's Nick Cage again. I mean, it just
Yeah.
turns on and off just like that. You just don't. The only thing you don't get in this is that, and unless I missed it, but I've seen it 3 times, and I look for it because I was looking forward to it. Is you always have that one moment in a Nick Cage movie where he's overacting to the point that you're like, that's what Nick Cage sound like, and you didn't really get that in this. In
Yeah.
my opinion, I thought he
Right.
was. I thought he was very. I thought he did a very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, that we do suspend belief for me in one part where, like, he's the boy is now woken up inside this cavern,
Yeah.
and Nick Cage somehow finds him.
Right.
Okay, I'm with you. And he's like, I don't know how to get out. No, you got to get out. You got to find a place to get out. And he's like, okay. And then the next thing you know, Nick Cage is crawling through a hole in the wall,
Like,
and he's with them. And I'm going, well, all right.
here's the thing is what I would have loved to have seen is something simple like you know he's running out the door, right, and like the other son yells something at him like don't forget your survival kit or something. He just grabs a backpack and throws it on his shoulders. He's going, and when he gets
Right.
there, he opens the backpack, throws a couple things on the ground, a
Mhm.
flare, blah blah, and a rope. Right?
Right.
Yay! Uh, Only when he gets down, the reason they didn't do that is because then it would be an easy way to get out, to climb back
True.
out,
Right.
right? But it could have been a situation because it wasn't very long thereafter that they get attacked by the creatures that one of the creatures throws the rope. He's like, oh my God, the rope, they got through in. Maybe that could be an easy way to, an
Right.
easy way around that.
And I think we might be suffering from a little bit of too much editing. Maybe something's laying on that editing room floor
Very
that
well.
kind of brought us from one point to the other. I think I had to do a lot with this movie. There's some editing. I think scenes probably went on longer. But at the
To
same time, again, it's a saving grace, man. It's movies that's 90 minutes long. It's an hour and a half.
her
You're
point.
in the sweet spot. That's where you're cutting it down to. So it's also it makes bad movies somewhat good
Uh-huh.
because you can keep it wrapped into a neater package.
It keeps it moving.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I will say that there was really 2 scenes in this movie. This is the first one. The second one was when is at the end, and I'm not going to get there yet. But
Yeah, I know what you're talking
when you literally went, "Why are you leaving the room? Stay there."
about. Yeah.
But other than that, everything else
Yeah.
was anyway. Um, yeah, the boy goes and sees his girl. He tells his brother he'll meet him back before dark. That's the thing; they have to be back before dark because they're safe in the daylight.
Right.
Um, and he comes back, and as he's running back, he falls in this crevasse in the ground. Nick leaves his older son or younger other son at home to go look for him, and some shenanigans happen.
Yeah.
This is where you get to see some of the special abilities that you didn't know these creatures have. Again, you still haven't seen one.
You don't. The only thing you know is something weird happened. There was something to do with the pandemic. There was something to do with like basically people dying off. And
Yep.
all we've seen is the other brother, the smart brother, get covered in these weird roaches that came out of a cave. Like in droves.
And also, you saw when Nick went out the next day to check the door,
Oh,
that
the
was
scratches, the gouges that were on the
there,
door.
there were bugs there too, right?
Yeah.
The big water bugs,
But
cockroaches,
you
whatever.
could also see that something was scratching at that door that trying
That
to
was
get in.
for the testing, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So now we understand that the bugs and the creatures kind of go hand in hand,
Right.
right? Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but
No,
just
it's all good. No, that's all we really know. And other than like you get home, you got a way to, you do the old way of how many fingers, between the horizon and the sun gives
yep,
you about 15 minutes per finger. How much time do I have to get home? We're running and doing that. And Nick Cage saying, "No, that's my kid. I'm out the door." And lo and behold, the boy that locks up for the night doesn't lock the door, like the
yeah.
one little peephole,
Well,
and you're like, "Oh no." And it really tense scene, very well done. I will give that scene so much credit. You've got this like weird thing, and then the arm folds out, and then those
and
things are, I'm like, "Whoa,
it's like
what's going on?" And
it's like the ET finger, right? Only it's not.
yeah. Oh
It's,
no, if it was a sword. Like,
and,
so you get that perspective of, like, he's gonna stab the kid in his sleep with
yeah,
this
kids in the
weird.
sleep, and the whole time you're like going, oh, because you're like, by this point you like this kid. You're like, wake up, kid.
Oh yeah, wake up. Yeah. That whole scene there was so worth watching. It has you on that was a great edge of your seat kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Um a lot of action that kind of it turns into it. I'll save the jump onto it, but it involves like coming face to face with some crazy stuff and sets us up for the other brother to be like, "I kill everything. Well, I killed one.
Yeah,
I'll kill that one."
love it when he goes, uh, you mean Dad killed a bunch? And he goes, no, I killed a
Oh,
bunch.
well, I got one. I
You know,
fought I fought the one off. So basically,
basically, basically, because the other brother actually was not asleep. He was setting a trap, trying to capture one of these creatures so that he could study it and try to learn a little bit about their adversaries.
right.
Uh, and the brother's like, I'm going to kill it, whatever, whatever. Well, of course, the dog gets in the room and the thing gets out, and they have to kill it to protect the animal, which was the right thing to do because if the
Oh
dog,
yeah.
we'd all in this room been very upset. We don't
Oh,
like
we riot. You don't kill the dog.
no. Really good. Another good scene. This is the first time you really get a decent look at the creature in light, which is very quick because the light hurts it.
It's
You
quick.
know?
It's enough to make you wonder what you just saw,
Yeah.
and it's a good.
Moves.
It's the best shot of the creature you're gonna get, I think.
Well, they're all a little different, but
Yeah.
not only that, the best shot of the creature, but also the way it moved in that scene was very almost spider-ish.
Yeah, it's got rolling joints.
It really was cool. There's another. I'll wait till we get closer to the end, but there was another thing that they did movement wise with these that I was like, "That's ingenious," and I love it. So, but we'll
Yeah.
get.
The way it kind of crept into the shadows to get out of the light, it's hurt by the light.
Yep.
And it kind of like, slithers, but it's got a very insect slash, unnatural way of moving.
And and at this point, because Nick was able to save his son, he's hurt. Um, uh, he created an explosion to get them out of the
Yeah, he basically blew the place up.
and so now they decide, or that not they, the son decides that they're going to take Dad to go see Rose.
And the young one, and just before they leave, the one that stays home, the book smart son, uh, basically, uh, Joseph anyway, uh, he we're not going to do that. We're not going to go to Rose's farm because, well, why not? Because I wouldn't help you.
Yeah, they're not going to help you. Well, why won't they help me? I wouldn't help you. Why would they?
I wouldn't help you. Like, it's not, and like that kid knows all the way there. This is a waste of time, and all it's going to do is really hurt somebody in the end.
Waste
And
of time, waste of resources, and unfortunately, he wound up being right. But the thing that really bothered me about this was not only was he right, but when Rose's mom said, well, he can stay,
yeah, Thomas can stay.
Thomas can stay, but Dad and the other brother, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, um,
Yeah, Joseph,
Joseph
Joseph and Paul.
and Paul, yeah, they cannot stay. They have to go home. And her theory is on that is he can work and pay for his way through his labor. Um, Dad's hurt. He can't pay for his way with labor, so it would be troublesome on them. But if they go home, now there's only two mouths to feed, so their resources would last longer. This is all very,
Very calculated, and
mhm,
that coldness that comes off, like, we're doing you a favor because now you'll have more resources to help your dying father. Like, it's
and
for the best, boys.
and then of course the brother says, hey, listen, you don't take responsibility for anything. This is basically on you, and all
Right,
you're wanting to do is stay with your girlfriend. How dare you be so selfish?
right,
And winds up getting his ass kicked for it
because he was right.
because he was right. And here's my statement on that: if I'm the dad, if I'm Rose's dad and I'm standing there seeing all that, I'm saying to myself, yeah, I know we're in hard times right now, but this guy just showed what kind of person he is. There is no way I'm going to let my daughter see this kid,
Right.
you
Because
know?
let's be honest, mom and dad can't be that dumb to
Yeah,
the fact that Thomas is there hanging with their daughter and spending a lot of time with their daughter, and it's very innocent. It's just companionship,
exactly.
and it's turning
It's it's
because
it's a childhood crush, is what it is.
absolutely, and it's gonna go somewhere. And it's funny when dad later's like, "I know what you were doing."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
well, why'd you let him go up there and close the room door, dude?
y'all know better than that, right? Hey, real quick, if you happen to be watching on X or Twitter or Twix, as we call it, please feel free to join us on YouTube. The link should be in the bar there, so you can actually join the talk, join the chat with us. We'd love to be able to share your comments with everyone and be a part of the group. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please do so. Please ring the bell, toll that bell, slash that like button, and please, please, please help us with the algorithm and leave us a comment. Sorry about that, but I just saw that we have many people watching on X, and I'd love
Sweet.
to have them join us here on YouTube so we can join the chat, be a member of our Talking Dead. Um,
Sounds good.
so yeah, so they wind up going back home. He winds up staying. Dad catches them kissing. Um, and the whole reason they went was to get medicine. So he basically plays Rose and says, hey, I'm leaving. Can you please give me some medicine to help my dad? She does, and he gets caught by one of the field hands
Yeah,
who basically accuses him of stealing.
yeah, it takes him for a looter.
Yeah, and it takes him back and ties him to a chair and points the shotgun at him and says, we used to have laws. This was back before you were born, and
Right.
basically they punish the people who steal.
Mhm.
And this is going to be your punishment. He's getting ready to shoot him in the leg with that
'Cause
shotgun.
you're gonna have a hard time getting around.
Yeah,
But
and,
this is how we do it.
yeah, and there's nothing personal, right? There's nothing personal. We're
Nothing
just
personal. You're gonna shoot my leg off with a shotgun from like 4 feet away. The hell, this ain't personal, bro.
but where they made their mistake is they turned the music up so that no one would be able to hear what they were doing.
Because they're the field hands that are living on, and they're taking field justice. That they're gonna, here's a kid walking out of here with a bottle of pills. We're gonna take care of it the way we take care of it, and nobody will know.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's sun went down, guys. Um, all here we are, another example of the Quiet Place,
uh huh.
origin story, the
And,
story of Paul, Joseph, and Thomas.
and the
Uh,
first time ever, the creatures decide to burrow under the house and come up through the floorboards.
yeah, wild.
really cool because he,
Wild, because you get that in the cave when
yeah,
that started this all was they're digging underneath us. You know, of course they are. They're cave dwelling creatures.
hmm
So
and
now they've learned after all this time, like, oh, we can't get in the doors, but we can, which is funny. You can't break through a wooden door, but you can dig through rock. Okay, but anyway, you get Donald under the house, and I'll give it credit because Joseph later is tapping through the house trying to find soft spots in the house,
yeah.
and the hollow spots in the floor, and he breaks open the spots to kind of invite them into the weak points.
And not only that, but I love the way he did that when he was leaving it for him, right? But
Yeah,
he also filled it full of furniture and things like that to try to so that they would know when they were coming, and it would slow them down enough to give them a fighting chance.
right.
Uh, because as we found out, what does Nick Cage say when they say, "Well, Dad, they're coming under the floor. What are we going to do?" He pulls a Sagawa. Let them fight.
Let them fight.
Let
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Godzilla reference had to go there.
Yep.
He we skipped a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, he gets away from the guy who was going to kill him.
Hmm.
Is under attack. They're coming up through the floorboards. They're breaking it. Now, this house wasn't as fortified, though. If you,
No, and they had said that, oh, they never bother us over here,
yeah,
and which is kind of strange. I think mainly probably they were bothering our Cajun friends here. That they're the ones that are out. You know, they're on their own, so they're foraging, they're scrapping, they're doing the things that you would do in dystopia of trying to survive. We survive.
and
We are men.
they captured and killed one of their own.
Right.
So now they're trying to get back. It's basically that's what I felt like. I felt,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Crazy stuff. And this is where we kind of go off the rails because these creatures come out of nowhere. Um, I'm down for however they want to look. They have this weird, like,
they have a dual face, which
yeah,
if you see the concept drawings,
it,
uh,
it,
imagine a horse face, right?
yeah, looking at you long ways.
And at the top, there's eyes and what looks like eyes in a mouth, but it
Right.
literally opens its mouth from here, like this.
Yeah, it's got another. Yeah, it's very strange.
And
The whole when it starts flapping its head, I couldn't help but laugh out loud because
yep,
it's like, what is happening?
but here's where I thought was cool. They're in the cart. They're trying to get back to their dad, and
Hmm.
the house has exploded behind them, and
Yeah,
you see these creatures chasing them. Right? They group up into a big, what do you call it? Like a Ferris wheel of
yeah, it's a furry,
rolling,
weird.
and I'm sitting there going, "That's cool."
What is happening?
The fact that the
Holy crap!
house are on fire, so that it's a fire wheel of these creatures.
Yeah,
Oh, so neat. It was so well.
it was wild.
It was one of those things that you go, I wouldn't have thought of that. How did someone think of that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very strange. At first, I was kind of, uh, I'm not gonna lie. The first time, I'm like, what are we doing?
uh
Watching him again, a little more appreciation for him. I do. I hate when movies go too dark. There's a lot of times where, like, I get it. The best TVs, there's 10,000 blacks and then 10,000 whites, and you can gradient your picture up a bit, and the darkness helps. But again, if you're
yeah,
watching this, you can't watch this on the go. It's very hard to see
yeah.
if you're on a small screen because it's so dark. I was kind of like when I was going through today with it on the background, you can't see the eyes. You
Nope.
can't see like the claws moving, along the wall and stuff, which you kind of need to really feel this whole movie. So bigger screen, the better.
Yep.
Um,
And again, it's not a great movie by any means. But it was
this
fun.
is less than $1 million was spent on this movie, and you got Nick Cage, you've got like I said, Jaden and the other actor, uh, yeah, Jaden Martell, Maxwell Jenkins. did a really great job of building their characters as brothers, growing as brothers. It's a awkward age to be dealing with. I really believed it. And we're kind of left with them. Uh, where do they go from here?
Yeah,
Uh,
Sadie Silverall was really good in this as well.
it was interesting. It's just a very strange kind of thing, and it's funny how you buy into this dystopia and this is how things are, and you really never know other than this weird creatures that are there for some reason, and you're still buying into it. So
Yep.
you know what? I give you credit for that one. It's not. I don't think this was ever meant to be some masterpiece,
No.
um, but uh, it's Nick Cage, man.
Yeah.
So
Um, they go back to the house. Dad tells them to fight. They do, right? They do, and they do a
yeah,
good job. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, they got some neat traps that they set up to bring them in certain ways, and creating this fire bomb that's gonna go off and kill them all. And
I will say this right now: that firebomb, that was again app- applaud for such an inexpensively made movie to pull that special effect off because it looked really
it
really.
looked good.
Uh,
And Nick Cage just finally comes out of the coma that he was in from exploding himself, and becomes the hero
yes, that
by
okay.
exploding himself again. I mean,
Uh,
you blew up Nick Cage twice in this movie. You get credit for that too.
absolutely. I'm going to blow the house up, and we're going to hide in the freezer.
Come on, that scene's awesome. It's like re-entry into
It
Earth's atmosphere coming through the lid of that freezer door.
is great, but I will say this right now: they would have cooked themselves alive in there. But
Cooked, yeah, they'd be the first bit of the explosion knocked them over, and now they're on fire.
so here's my thing. You ready? You're not supposed to be able to make sense on this stuff. We
No,
don't care. It's
no,
fun.
we had a monster that came at you like a sock puppet.
And
He's like, "Look at me in these eyes. Ha! Those weren't my eyes." And you're like, "What the?"
oh yeah, if at some point time it would have went
Right.
or okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and throughout all the silliness, though, I still loved it. I mean, I was the first one to watch this, and there's times where I tell Chris to watch stuff that's
This
objective.
isn't terrible. I give it a lot of credit for what it's at. Like there was missing some things that I think would have made it better.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure that they had using Nick Cage a little bit more, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, for what we got, there's a lot of those post-apocalyptic movies that sell you for one reason or the other.
yep,
Like I said, Civil War came out at the same time as this, and that's you know that was its own side of it. And so this was again another one of those post-apocalyptic wars. Kind of, is it generic? I think it has enough to make itself unique, in itself, pretty close,
yeah,
um, for the fact that it's a creature. And there's a couple good scares in it,
yeah.
some creepiness to it.
I again, I thought it was very well acted. There was no one in the movie that I didn't like. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Rose, Samantha Coughlin, I think her name was.
Yeah,
I actually left the movie wishing she had been in it more. I enjoyed her, her character. I thought she was great. Both of Rose's parents were awesome.
yeah.
There was no one that I watched in this movie that I was like, oh, really? I liked them all. I really did. And you know me, I'm kind of hard on kids and movies, and I thought these all did a really, really good job.
Right. Yeah. No, there was none of that moment. It was like I said, the boys played it off well of the age that they're playing and how they'd be dealing with all of it. I like the fact that we had the one kid that was staying back and trying to his way of giving to society and everything was the smart way of doing things, like playing chess, which is great because at one point he starts teaching his brother how to play chess, and dad's like, cool moment. But this is what this kid's been doing through life. Like he's looking at life as chess.
Yep.
So when dad's out there trying to save the son and the son's trying to survive, he's over there two steps ahead with trying to figure out what's driving these things, how to get around them.
So I don't know if you caught this or not. I think it was purposefully done, and we've already talked a lot about the movie. I don't want to go into the exact details of the ending, but at the very end, of course, they're burying their dead,
Hmm.
and then the three of them go off to find other humanity.
Right.
They are what his father said was going to happen.
Mm.
He said early in the film, Nick Cage, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Nick Cage said, some people believe that the world is ended. You know, I like to think that eventually a group of people are going to come over that hill, call them heroes, if you will, to help save humanity.
Right.
And then
It's them.
his boys and Rose became those people at the end. So
They're the ones that came over the hill at the end. Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's a pretty
Good
cool.
connection. Yeah. Whole circle back in on our heroes.
All right, so I'm curious. Um, what do you think, Chris? Where would you rate this on? Okay, so for those of you who may be new to the channel who are watching through X or here on YouTube, um, we rate our movies based on the structure of the movie, how well we liked it. We give it a star rating, but we
Right.
also put it on our shit list, which has nothing to do with the rating.
Right. Yeah. So there's some terrible movies on that list that are pretty high because why exactly?
Because
Exactly. That's why.
anyway, so on a scale from 1 to 10, this is how we rate them. Scale from 1 to 10,
Yeah.
10 being a movie that transcends the genre. Everyone should watch it. Not this movie. 1 being a miserable dredge that made me angry that I watched it. Again, not this movie.
Yeah.
5 being a movie that hit all of its marks. Where would you place Arcadian?
Okay. So being said before, I'll get you an I'll get you a real number, LG, in the chat about how many movies he has. This is by far not the best Nick Cage movie. By
Yeah,
far. So, um,
it's also not the worst.
neat little story. That's also true. I mean, again, 900 some movies. There's definitely worse ones out there. This one's hard for me to rate because I did like it. Had a decent story. It gets some bad reviews from people that crap on this movie. I'm not gonna crap on it, but I am gonna give it a 6.5. It meets the marks for me. I just felt it was a bit on the generic side of the dystopia, but
I
it's not a terrible movie.
Yeah,
So I would say it's not unwatchable. Uh, so yeah, enjoyable, but there's some great Nick Cage movies out there I'll watch on there. He is a national treasure.
yes, yes. And I will say this. I agree with you on your assessment. Although I think I liked it a little more than you did. I wasn't horribly disappointed by the creature effects. I actually thought
Right.
they were better than they should have been, especially for the money that was spent.
Oh
So
yeah.
I myself am going to go with a 6.5, maybe a 7. Yeah, I think seven's
I
going
think
to
we're
be.
about the same way with as far as enjoyability. Like the
Yeah,
movie's not terrible. I was a little disappointed, but it's again, there is some disappointing monsters out there.
yeah, there
This
are.
one, as weird as it is and as goofy as it acts at some points, it's still it's weird and strange. And
And that's why the reason why I think that I went the way I did, because I
yeah,
honestly believe that although they were weird, although they were strange, they weren't bad,
right.
right? Because
No, that's just weird. It's
um,
weird.
so we have to figure out where we're going to put the. This is going to be a hard one, I think, on our table.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a. Let's look at this and say, okay, is it better or worse than? Well, let's start there. Wow.
Better or worse than
Is it better or worse than, well, let's just go right here. Let's go with Black Friday. Is it better or worse than Black Friday?
yeah, see, right in this thing I could say honestly, it's better than Viking Wolf, it's better than Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm gonna say it's better than Black Friday.
I
Um,
I'm going to agree with you on that.
yeah.
Now this is where it gets kind of
That's where we kind of.
kind of gets weird for us here. Um, wow. Okay, is it?
Yeah. When
Is
we
it?
start getting above this,
Yeah. Is it better than It Follows?
I don't know. I really liked It Follows.
See, but I didn't get what everyone saw
I
in It Follows.
but but as far as rewatchability, I that's why it's so low on the list is because you're in on it. You
Yeah,
get it. I mean, it's a sexually transmitted demon. It's an STD.
right. I will honestly say that I think this is, if we were to put this right snugly between Swamp Zombies and Thanksgiving, I'd be okay with that.
I'm good right there.
You think
Perfect.
so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though I'm looking at this right now, thinking Thanksgiving should be on a 46 and Swamp Zombie should be on 48, but we did it. We can't move it.
Shit. And some of them are going to just stay there.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we've
No,
only
that's solid. Like I said, it's at the bottom end of our movies. Like, oh, you should really watch, for sure. But it's not an unwatchable movie. It's not terrible. The people that give it that much crap say it's terrible. I tend to disagree.
yep.
I can agree on some things, bringing it down for me personally. But all in all, it was a give it. It's a one of a kind monster. That was
It was, and it had some really neat effects. So I'm locking it in. We're locking it. Boom! It is. We're
nice.
47. Um, we are going to get this list. I'm hoping that we can anyway get it added to our uh, bio link so that people can actually access this list if they would like
That'd
to
be cool.
start
Yeah.
watching some of our movies that we recommend.
Yep, I'm revamping a lot of our social media as we speak because things are a little different now, and I can devote some time to it, a little more than I have been. So, um, yeah, um, and stay tuned for some decent content because they've got a lot going on like here lately. I've got going to the Hell House from Hell House LLC to for a medium guided haunted tour. So we've got
A-
some cool stuff that's going to be coming. I'm going to really get on there. We're going to revamp some stuff, and we're going to get everything on that bio link so you can find us for everything: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Twix. Honestly, you can't. People don't tweet anymore because they put like 10-minute videos on there. That's not a tweet. I'm with that one. So, but you can find us all there, including our email where you can reach out to us. You have movie suggestions. We always love them.
Absolutely.
Like Alan mentioned earlier, make sure you give us a like and you give us a follow. If you give us a sub, if you haven't already, leave us a comment. It helps with that um, algorithm to get us out there. There are many like us, but none of them are us.
No, they're not.
Not like us. We thank the Talking Dead and Lunar Girl putting that link down in the live chat on YouTube where you can click and find us there. Until then, stay spooky, friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we always like to say, whether you're here with us on YouTube, whether you're on X watching, or possibly I'm looking into expanding maybe out to Twitch in the future as well. Um, we invite you to let your friends know about us. Let reach out to us as Chris said. Let us know about what you would like to see. Next week, we're continuing the month of Caged in March with
Caged in March.
Willy's Wonderland. What I like to call it Five Nights at Freddy's for adults.
Five Nights at Freddy's with Nick Cage.
Yeah. If someone said to you, Nick Cage was to star in a Quiet Place, what would you? Oh yeah, he did that. It's called Arcadian. Well,
Arcadian.
well, what if he started Five Nights at Freddy's? Oh, he did that too. It's called Willie's.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you could say. Like, did Nick Cage ever? Yes, he did play that.
He did. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
We're doing this, as you can tell, or have it pieced together. We're doing we're Caged in March, and we're going to be reviewing Nick Cage movies, horror movies all month. Please join us next week for Willy Wonderland. That is a free watch, I'm pretty sure.
Pretty much.
You can look that up on the socials. So watch that. Come back next week. Join the Talking Dead. Let us know exactly how you feel about Nick Cage and his movies. We'd love for you to be a part of it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again, may all of your nightmares be groovy. Have a great night, everybody. See ya.
Bye.